Hello there, everyone. Before we start the semester, there are a few things I would like to discuss and address. So we will be talking about that in our orientation and introduction. The rules and guidelines in class. By being accepted to the group, it means you have read the given rules and guidelines. Now the question is, what happens if you go against class rules and guidelines? First off, you will be given a warning. Now, I will not embarrass students. Of course, it depends upon the circumstances and the mistakes that they've given. If it's grave, then of course I'll call you out. But mostly I would respect the student's privacy and of course the student themselves. So I won't be calling you out in public. It's just going to be a private warning telling you about your issues concerning the rules and guidelines and what you have done against it. Secondly, if you still did not follow said rules and guidelines even after the warning, you will be kicked out of the group and from the class, which means you will not be part of any discussion unless, of course, you reach out to the instructor. You'll be given the last chance, and even if you follow that, even if you avoid, and if you don't follow that, rather, you will be immediately dropped from the subject. That will be your third and final warning. So I really hope that you can't reach that. We won't reach that part during the discussion, during our class, and during the semester. I do not want to be dropping students merely because they do not know how to follow rules and guidelines. Now, for you to find out what these rules and guidelines are, although you have read it, I trust that you have. But if you want to do a refresher, you can just go to our Facebook group and check the rules and guidelines under it. It is important to follow the rules and guidelines for a smooth flow of the subject within the semester. Now, what happens if you have issues with your classmates? Do not hesitate to report this to the instructor, and the problem will be dealt with fairly. So before we delve in deeper to the orientation, I would like to introduce myself formally. I am Maxine Flores Bulado, and I'll be talking to you more about that in the next slide. Hi, my name is Ma'am Maxine Flores Bulado, although I would prefer to be called Ma'am Max or Ma'am Maxine, as there is another Ma'am Bulado in the university. So just to avoid confusion, so I would prefer to be called by my first name. I don't believe that there are other Ma'am Maxines in the campus, so I would prefer to be called that. And now let's move forward. Enough about that. Let's talk about the expectations. I've read the expectations that you gave me. It was very entertaining to actually hear your thoughts. And of course, there are some issues. For expectations, I've read that most of you really want to learn something new. I think it's a common thing. I think as college students, we would prefer to have something new on the table. I think that's what's good about knowledge. It's the growth. You want to grow and learn something new. So I promise, rest assured that I promise that I'll do what I can to offer something new and something that would be beneficial for you once you become a professional in your field. Once you finish college and you graduate, you would have these lessons and you can make use of this skill that you've learned within the semester, hopefully. Okay, after the expectations, let's more discuss about me, your instructor. I am a graduate of Mass Communication in Silliman University, although I do have majors and undergraduate since I decided to study again in literature, and I have my master's in literary studies. I'm really just slowly getting by as I did not rely on my family to spend for my education in my graduate studies. So getting there, slow and steady wins the race. Moving forward, let's talk about the modules and discussions. There are some subjects offered where there is an option for a module. Now, I do understand, as I've seen, that there are students who opted for modules because they do not want their subjects to clash or the schedules to clash. I do have students telling me that there are some instructors who tell them last minute that they would be having a discussion, and then another instructor will be having the discussion at the same time. So it's an overlapping schedule, and I know that's an issue here. Now, the thing is, in my class, in most of my classes, I do not, I prefer not to have online discussions. Okay, so my discussions would mostly be pre-recorded. You'll be getting a lot of the same thing that I'm showing you right now. So it's mostly pre-recorded. The reason why I choose for it to be pre-recorded is that I know that you have your major subjects. I know that you have other subjects which require you to really attend the classes. So I would prefer to have pre-recorded discussions where you, the students, can access it anytime you want to. You can review and watch the videos back and, how many times probably, review your notes, check your notes, or just, clarify if you are confused. So the discussions are there for your consumption, and you can just come back anytime you want to. I will usually be uploading it in YouTube, and I think you can download it. So if for those people who are just really relying on data and they don't have, you know, unlimited usage of the internet, you can download the videos and you can just repeat it if you need to review certain discussions or if you're confused about it. Okay? So again, for those who opted or chose Module because of that mere reason, I'll just give you a chance. Otherwise, you can have a pre-recorded discussion. And that's what I'll usually be offering. Of course, the exception would probably be the oral recitation, especially in my speech classes. I do handle speech classes. So I do have oral recitations there. Of course, those performances should be scheduled. But rest assured, again, you will have, different types of schedules which you would actually prefer. Again, it's going to be an first come, first served basis. I am an instructor who's not a fan of GCs, group chats. I don't really like GCs, maybe because it's a little bit confusing. If I give instructions and there are students who just respond out of respect, and I understand that because, you need to be respectful to your instructors, so you just confirm that you have, in fact, understood the news, and you'll just say noted on this or noted. Thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir. And because of that, it'll just flood the GC, and those students who do not have internet access and they check on the GC, all they can see are those notifications and they have to scroll up to see the announcement. Other than that, there are also some students who do share links in their GCs, and there are some who do conversations in the GCs. It's a little chaotic. So I have my way of running things, and if you want to communicate with me, you have three options. We have a Facebook group. If you want to communicate there, you may communicate there. We have a Google Classroom. If it's a specific topic or, a class question, probably, you can ask it there in our Google Classroom. Or if it's something that's personal, my DMs are open. Although some of them will automatically go to archive, so I would rather you would write it in the comment in one of my posts that you sent me a DM so I can check on it. Okay? And lastly, for sharing of ideas, for, you know, when I do ask in my discussions for you to share your ideas, of course you will be given points, but I would want you to respect each other. Respect is a very big part in this class. And I would want you to respect your classmates as well. So once they will be sharing their own views and those views may not coincide with you, I do not want you starting a debate in my class. And I don't want you to judge your classmates for having those types of views. I do have my students with really strong views, most probably religious. And there are some students who don't actually believe in religion. And I think I respect that as well. And I want you to respect those students also. So at least we'll have that, neutral ground. Once you enter my class, I want you to have that certain openness, being open minded. I think that's what matters. Yeah. Anyway, don't be afraid. If you do have questions, if you're confused with a lot of things, you can just reach out to me. But again, I'm not usually on social media unless I'm working. So I'm mostly there from time to time. So you don't expect me to really respond immediately, but I assure you that I will respond the moment that I see that your question or your issue is of importance. All right? So, anyway, I hope we will be having a really smooth semester. I will be giving you as much as knowledge as I can impart, what knowledge I have learned, the years through study. I will try as much to offer you what I can give. I've been around Norsu. I've taught in Norsu for around 5 to 6 years now. I've seen students succeed in their lives. They're now professionals, and such I think it's a strong sense of pride for somebody to see these individuals grow. And I'm very confident in each and every one of you. And lastly, before I end this and we continue on with our discussion, I want you to take notes. Never forget that numbers should not be the ones that define you. I'm not asking you to fail, of course, but just because you have a low grade, because I've had students see that they've had low grades, they've lost, the fight in them. Don't give up. Instead, challenge yourself. For example, you failed in one quiz, then make sure that the next quiz you'll actually get something higher. Okay? But never ever, never ever commit plagiarism or cheat. And I'll be talking about that further on in our orientation in this video that I'm sharing with you concerning INCs and, of course, consequences of your actions if ever we actually reach there, but I hope that we don't. Now that we've finished with the introductions, let's begin with the expectations. What is expected of you as a student in this class? I don't really have any other expectations aside from the fact that I stand firmly with this cliche saying that goes respect begets respect. I believe that the very foundation of a class or a classroom should start with respect, and after that, everything will follow. The first one would be professionalism. It is important to exercise professionalism as you will be professional someday in your own field. So if you learn how to respect others, and I'm not asking you to respect me as an instructor, but I want you to respect me as an individual. And at the same time, I will be respecting you as well. And I want you to do that as well to your classmates and each other. Other than professionalism, we also have clarity. I think clear communication between both parties is ideal. Student to instructor, instructor to student, and of course, student to student. So learn to communicate, of course, with respect and professionalism. And because of the two, I think it goes along, there will be harmony. And when everyone can get along properly with no problems or issues, then of course this semester will just be a breeze. So don't forget that. And lastly, openness. It's important to also be open to criticism, advice, and of course to consequences of your actions. Now let's talk about the grading system. I have students who have expressed to me their happiness with a high grade, but of course, I am merely an instructor. I do not control your grades. I just compute your grades. You are the ones that make your grades. So these are the subdivisions of your grade. So for the midterms, quizzes and activities is 30%. Participation, project, and attendance is 30%. Major examinations is 40%, and that's a total of 100%. For the finals, it's the same thing. And do not think that it is a 40-60, where there are some students with their mentality that goes, oh, I'm just going to make it up for finals, whatever I missed in the midterms. That's not how it's going to be here in this subject. It's going to be one half of the midterm grade and one half of the finals grade, and that would be your final grade for the semester. So take note of the percentages. It's very important for you to know because some students might ask, how come my grades are are really low. Maybe because your examinations, major examinations are low, even if you have submitted some projects or assignments and participated in class. But of course, it's additional percentage. So again, take note of the percentages. Now, the very basic question. Of course, you're here and you wouldn't want to retake a subject, especially a subject that's arts or general education. So the question is, how do I pass? How do I avoid failing and having a low grade? There's so many students who keep on asking me that one. Passing this subject. So of course there will be submissions. This is very important. I cannot stress enough how important it is to submit requirements on time and focus on the bigger percentages. And again, I'm not very stingy when it comes to grades, and there is a possibility. And there are a lot of students who have gotten 90 plus final grade in my subject. Avoid cheating and plagiarism. This is very important. I had to recheck some of the submitted answers of my students, mainly because I have students who have grabbed verbatim. When I say verbatim, it is the exact words from the internet and use that as your own answer. And that's called plagiarism. In other cases, it is actually, you can be sued for that. So please try to avoid that one. You may quote, but I would really appreciate, and it's really advised, for you to have subjective answers. It's graded so long as the student will give their personal answers. In my class, any subjective answer, as long as it's your stand and you have your own point of view, you will be given a grade compared to those who have gotten their answers from the internet in fear of being wrong. So again, cheating is considered as copying from another person and not just your classmate, but it can be somebody else. And plagiarism is copying from the internet or any other source without acknowledging it. So what are the consequences when caught cheating or plagiarizing? The first one is failure. So for major examinations, quizzes, the student will automatically be marked as F and will not be given a grade. Now, even if you only answered question number 2 and took that answer from the internet, the entire examination and quiz will automatically be labeled as failed. Yes, even if it's just question number 2 and all the others were answered subjectively, you will still be considered as failed, especially if you are caught. So the first offense, you will be left with a warning and will be marked in the instructor's record. So you will already have your name in my record, showing that you have in fact cheated or plagiarized a work that isn't yours and called it as your own. Now, if you do it again after the warning, you will automatically be dropped from the class. Yes, it is considered, the quizzes are considered, and even assignments and projects are also considered in this. So it's very important to take note as well, to study, to understand, and to perform. Most especially for those who decided to choose and go for module, uh, please take note that there is no instructor. I'm not around to assist you. So you really have to understand. And of course, performing would be answering. And in the course of this pandemic, it is very important to keep a calm yet disciplined mind. Now the INC, this has been a running issue for the different instructors as there are so many students with different reasons when they are INC'd or they are labeled as INC. Now some of those INCs are in fact failed students, students who did not reach 75 in their final grade. And they were marked INCs. And then the issue there is that they keep on reaching out to the instructors despite the fact that the instructors are busy. We do have other classes and we are handling other classes. And it's kind of difficult to really juggle, makeup examinations compared to INCs. So for this semester and for the semesters after this one, I will be avoiding giving INCs to my students, to all of you. So the INC will only be given in dire circumstances. By dire circumstances, you are going to be providing me with the proper papers for you to be considered as INC. Otherwise, if you have not complied with all the projects that were given, the major requirements, you will automatically be considered as dropped from the subject. For minor subjects, and if you still have a low grade, you will just be given 75 as long as you have finished all the major requirements without failing. You need not worry because everything is provided. All you need to learn in this subject will be given to you. So during examinations or quizzes, everything in the discussion, everything in your handouts, in your reading materials will be the basis for the exams and for the quizzes. Now let's talk about the benefits of blended learning. Blended learning is divided into two parts, and that is synchronous and asynchronous. What does this mean? Synchronous means that students are performing, or teachers and students are online at the same time. So this means oral recitations or online discussions. For asynchronous learning, this means that students may access different subjects or topics given by the instructors anytime of their convenience. So if you feel like you want to listen to discussions, you don't need to be there on the time scheduled for your class, as the discussions are pre-recorded. So these are pre-recorded discussions, scheduled activities and quizzes, and course packs. Now here's the difference. Online discussions require a lot of strictness when it comes to scheduling, whereas asynchronous learning is where, you can just access anytime you want to. Now, there is a balance between blended learning, mainly because we will have to assess the performance of a student. And as I have said before, I don't usually have online discussions a lot, and most of my discussions are pre-recorded. So I rarely give live discussions for you. So if you have confusions when it comes to the subject, you can easily just replay the discussion videos, and I will be giving you reading materials as well. So you don't have to worry about all of that. So don't forget that when you're dealing with a pandemic, it's important to actually strike a good balance. So take note of your responsibilities, but don't forget about yourself. Don't burn out during the pandemic. Have personal care. Now, for the smooth flow of the semester, don't forget to communicate. If you have questions and clarifications, communicate with the instructor, communicate with me. Be patient. Wait for the response and not flood the instructor with messages. I hope you understand that we do not just sit in front of the computer and discuss. We also write down and make the modules or the handouts, get all the reading materials and research reading materials, prepare for the pre-recorded discussions and other things. We are a rather busy bunch, and I hope that you would understand and, of course, give us enough respect to just wait for our response. You need not worry, but we will, in fact, respond to your queries. So, again, try to be a little bit more patient when it comes to that. And of course, accept. Be open to suggestions and advice. There are moments where the student may have been mistaken, and some instructor will be giving you advice, words of advice, and they would find it offensive. So I want you to be open once you are given words of advice. Or, of course, be open to consequences of your actions. Never forget this very important phrase. You are here to learn. Do not forget that. You did not come to class, you did not go and enroll and just sit there and not get anything in return. So try as much to use this to your advantage and use this tool, this chance, for a brighter future. Let's do this together. We are all struggling during this time. Our best weapon is compassion. Let us work together and achieve growth and success. And after that, you may enjoy, you may party with a very high score or a passing grade. Thank you for the orientation. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up or reach out to me. Good luck, and let's get through this semester smoothly.